this is the latest group of figures that I've finished painting for the game of Congo. It's mainly a 70-point faction of the Sultanate of Zanzibar. They're all the figures at the front, but I've also been delving into my lead mountain, so I've got some additional figures that I'm going to find useful that I've painted up at the back there. I'll tell you about those in a moment. But as I say, the front is the War Games Foundry pack consisting of the Sultanate of Zanzibar figures. It's definitely a nice faction to paint. You can add a little splash of colour to it, which is not so easy with some of the other factions. I didn't go over the top though. In the rule book there are quite a few photographs of these figures painted up with very colourful tunics and dress in general. I stuck to a mainly white appearance, but used colours for the turbans and sashes and so on, except for the two figures at the front. So let's just try and zoom in a little bit and I'll tell you a little bit more about each figure individually. Right, so at the front here, these are the two characters. So this chap here is the Emir. I've painted him up with a bit more colour, as I say. I've tried to make his coat appear as though it's got a lot of sort of satin thread in it. So it's sort of a basic green colour, but then I've used a lot of metallic colours. I'm finding there's a range of paints called War Colours. They're based in Cyprus, and I'm really finding their paints interesting. They do a whole range of metallic colours, but some of them aren't the sort of metals that you would imagine. They're sort of metallic blues and greens and reds and all kinds of things, not just the traditional golds and silvers and coppers and what have you. And I'm finding those colours are actually quite useful for trying to give a kind of satin sheen to clothing in particular, rather than that may not be what they're intended for, but that's what I've put them to use for. So here, as I say, here's the Emir. His use in the faction is that he can, when he rallies the group that he's attached to, he can also take stress tokens off of neighbouring friendly groups that are within 6 inches of him. No, actually 8 inches, I think. And try and rally those off as well. So he's very good at rallying his troops. And this chap here is the diplomat. Again, I've given him a little bit more colour. In particular, I've only used one metallic colour to try and put a stripe into his turban. Yeah, I think you can see that on the film. But his skirt itself, I've used turquoise colour from War Colours. It's actually, they don't do triads, so I don't know what the technical term for them are. They actually do 5 paints in a particular colour. So you can really get a lot of depth and so on with the colour. And I particularly like this colour, which is turquoise. I've used that on a couple of the turbans at the back there that I'll show you in a moment. So the diplomat, if you attach him to a group of young warriors or bundukis, then they get a D8 bravery instead of a D6. So his particular use is to really raise the morale of less quality troops. Right, let's put those to one side and bring the individual groups forward one at a time. So the next group is a group of 4 figures, and these are trained troops they're just described at. So you get 4 figures in the group. You can have as many of those as you want, and they're armed with rifles. Again, you can see on that guy there I've used the turquoise colour. I've only used 3 of the colours. You're not obliged to use all 5, so I found that's given me kind of enough depth. And as I say, I really like that turquoise colour. I'm going to use that a lot in future. The other turbans I painted with foundry colours. I think this one's Madder Red, and if I remember rightly, that one could be Wine Stain Red, I think. Okay, so there, the 4 trained troops. Then behind them, there's a group of 5 figures. These are just called Zanzibaris, so these cost 16 points as well. They're armed with muskets rather than rifles, and yeah, you get 5 instead of 4. So similar to the trained troops, only armed with muskets, which you have to reload, but they are more intimidating to the enemy. Again, I've kept mainly with white clothing. I've given that guy at the back there a sort of reddish brown, I think it's red oxide tunic, and the chap in the front I've painted a sort of reddish sort of zigzag design on his cap, and coloured that guy turban and that guy turban there. That one is orange. Actually, I think I said mauve for a colour earlier on, but I'm not sure. That is the mauve. And a turquoise sash around his waist. And the next group is going to be an interesting one to play. This is a group of 5, and these are Baluchis. Now, these don't have any shooting ability. They're armed with these sort of vicious scimitars or tulwars or whatever they are. But you're only allowed 1 of these groups in your column. But while they don't have any stress tokens on them, they roll D10s for combat and bravery. Once they get 1, I believe they go down to D8. Yeah, if they have 1 or 2 stress tokens, they roll D8s. And then if they get more stress tokens, so 3 or 4 stress tokens, they go down to rolling D6s. So in conjunction with the ability of the Emir to rally off neighbouring stress tokens, they could be quite a little powerful group. If you keep their stress tokens down, then they could be quite fierce fighters. And again, added a little bit of splashes of colour to them. Another red oxide tunic there, turquoise for the sash and the turban on that chap. And next up, there's a sort of the usual kind of filler kind of group. These are young warriors. So these young warriors seem to be consistent throughout all the 4 factions that they've got in the rules at the moment. So nothing terribly special about them. If I wanted to, I could take them and use them for another column, or vice versa, take some out of another column and boost them a points value of this column. So they're always useful to have, and in particular with the diplomat, if I put the diplomat with them, he'll bolster their dice rolling as well, their bravery. So that's probably where the diplomat is going to be attached. And then finally, for the Sultanate of Zanzibar, we have another sort of standard group of 3 scouts. So I can't remember, but I think I've got a group of scouts for virtually every column I've got now. They're useful for reconnoitring the dangerous terrain, and they have got value in fighting as well. same comment as with all the others. They're taken from the War Games Foundry Warriors with Sculpted Hair group, and that group does come with shields, but these figures really look as though they should be holding shields, but they don't come with shields, and that's how you really distinguish them from normal warriors. So I'm not sure what I feel about these. They're nice figures, but I might sort of investigate trying to find some other figures to use as scouts and buy shields and give those shields and use them as warriors of some kind or another. Right, so that's the Sultanate of Zanzibar grouping. But as I said, I've been delving into my lead mountain now. I did actually some time ago now, about a month ago, get all my unpainted figures out of the cupboards and shelves and attic and so on, just to see what I've got, and it's terrifying. I mean, there's been a few YouTube channels recently that have had made efforts to kind of clear their shelves of shame and their lead piles and all that kind of thing. To give you an idea, it took me 8 hours to put everything together, film each little box of groups of figures and so on. 8 hours of time taken up, and the video footage is 2 hours long. It's just a stupidly long video, so I'm not going to put it up, but I took a couple of pictures. I might show you those, overlay those on this commentary, just to give you an idea of the amount of unfinished work I have to do, unpainted lead and unpainted buildings that I've accumulated over about 30 or 40 years of wargaming. I'm not sorry that I've got them, because there's so often that you find you want to turn to something, another period, and you remember figures being produced and they're no longer in production, and you regret not having bought them at the time. So it's a great little reservoir to dip into. But one of the things I found in particular was a couple of years ago at a wargame show, I bought at it was kind of on like a second-hand stall. It wasn't the bring and buy. The guy was trading under his own name, but he had masses of loose figures and so on. And one bag contained a whole mass of colonial figures. In particular, I was interested at the time in acquiring Maasai figures because I was thinking of adding those to an Ethiopian army. I'm getting a bit off the beaten track here, so I won't go down that road. But I now have loads of Maasai figures, and I'm actually going to paint those up as an alternative African kingdoms column. I'm hoping that in the future Studiotomahawk are going to extend the Congo rules with supplements, and a classic faction to put in that would be the Maasai. So for the time being I'm going to use them as African kingdoms, but I'm hoping they'll come in useful one day to actually fight in their own right as Maasai. But anyway, I found these two figures in the bag as well. These are Askari. I've already, I think, got painted up one freebie that I got from War Games Foundry, so I've now got 3 more Askari, so I only need to find 1 more somewhere, or possibly 2, in order to make up another group of Askari for, say, the White Men Expeditions column. So that's those. They're going to come in handy eventually. And then I've also got these 7, so again it's not a convenient number for Congo. Sikh troops, and these figures are actually pictured in the rule book. What's the page there? I don't know if I can. These figures here, these are the same figures, and they will come in useful as a group of 4. So I've got 3 too many. So again, I might have to find another figure from somewhere to supplement them. But a group of 4 soldiers for the White Men Expeditions column. And as you can only have one group of soldiers in the column, finding an extra figure for those 3 at the back won't immediately come in useful, but I could possibly have a game, because I've already got a lot of surplus explorers and so on. I could make up 2 White Men Expedition columns and have them fighting one another possibly one day. So make one British and one French or German or something, and have a little colonial encounter as a scenario. I don't know, so they could come in useful, but then again the Sikhs would only really have fought for the British, wouldn't they? So yeah, maybe that's not a good idea. And I painted them up with slightly darker sort of khaki than in I've just shown you in the book. I think I used Foundry Soviet Army Tan, which has got a sort of greyish green kind of appearance, so I thought it would do as a khaki for the Sikhs. And anyway, they were in my lead mountain, and they're no longer in my lead mountain, so thought I'd get them painted and make use of them after all these years. Right, so that's it. I'll take some pictures, put those up at the end of the video. Looking forward to playing with that faction. More games of that with Pete from Mini Warzone in the near future, hopefully. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.